And as you guys know, I'm very keen to get you guys to do 3D, and like I say to you guys, the more you do it, the better you'll get. And this is, you know, I've got 6 years experience from when I created this, so I'm a bit embarrassed to show it. Thank you, Legmog, for the follow then. That's very good of you. I do appreciate it when you guys follow my Twitch channel. It's probably the best way for you to keep an eye on when I am live. I do post to my Twitter page, AppFillDoes 3D, 15 minutes before I go live, but following me on Twitch is probably the easiest way to know when I'm live. And my schedule doesn't change. I stream every Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 PM Pacific time in the US. So. Yeah, I'm curious to see how the new Unreal Engine 4 compares to the old UDK version here. Yeah. What does Add Art A say? Hang on, just let me stop this for a minute. If you're embarrassed, I should hide under a table. Thank you, Add Art A. I appreciate the follow. Yeah, it's been a while since I've worked in. Like I said, that was created a long time ago, so we're going to be updating the assets, and the new engine should make the level look a lot better. And we'll be going through that process step by step, because I've worked with game studios in the past, so I want to show you guys what I consider best practice to take a model like this into the Unreal Engine to create it. Because you can't just select the entire model, interior and exterior, and import it into Unreal. That's not a good way to do it. So I'm keen to show you guys the best way to take a model like that into the Unreal Engine and rebuild it. Just for texture optimization and memory optimization, all that sort of stuff. That's what we're going to be doing. But again, thank you Legmog and Add Art A for following me on Twitch. I really do appreciate it, guys. So thank you. So let's finish updating our light fitting here. I'm just going to isolate this piece of the selection again. We'll jump into our front viewport. And I'm just going to rotate these in. Let's just move them into place. Now again, like I said guys, I've decided to do it this way because I want to try and keep the original texture I think that we're using for the so let me just exit out of isolation mode so we can look at the original light fitting here. I'll go back into isolation again. Yeah, I wanted to keep the original texture. I think we'll use the texture as an emissive map here where the glass is. So I think that would show up quite nicely in the Unreal Engine if we use the texture as an emissive map. So that's what we're going to be doing. Legmog, what you said about the 3D modeling subsection not being on Twitch anymore, I noticed this too. Yeah, I haven't been on Twitch for about 6 months, but 3D modeling was always my go-to place. Do I know when they'll... do you know that? Yeah, I do know they removed it. I know they removed it. There's a few theories as to what's going on. The community section is still in beta. And the reason most people think that they've removed the 3D modeling community, well, the reason there is no 3D modeling community set up on Twitch is because at the moment you can't create a community starting with a number. So if you try and create a community that starts with a number, it won't work. I think that's the reason that Twitch at the moment aren't showing a 3D modeling community. I don't think Twitch are trying to stop people from doing 3D modeling on Twitch. I'm pretty sure they're not. Just that you can't actually create a community beginning with a number. So I think that's what the problem is at the moment. Yeah, I think that's the reason why. It's not because Twitch don't want people 3D modeling on Twitch. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. Now, they haven't told me that's not the case, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I think the problem is you can't make a community starting with a number, and that's the reason that there is no 3D modeling community at the moment. And that's probably because the communities feature is still in beta. personally, I wish they wouldn't have rolled it out until they'd fixed that. But this is Twitch, and Twitch will do what Twitch wants. I'm sure that it will show up at some stage. I have actually contacted Twitch support, and I'm just waiting to hear from them as to what is exactly going on. Because I always used to stream under 3D modelling as well, and I know a lot of the guys that I watch did, like Kiori and Galen, and always streamed under 3D modelling, and now that the community isn't showing up, it makes it difficult for 3D modelers. Legmog says it's weird though, if you go to Google and type Twitch 3D modelling, you can see the old 3D modelling page all working and functional. Yeah, no, that's exactly true. If you go to Twitch's main page and go to the creative section, if you just type in /3D modelling and hit enter, you'll go to your old 3D modelling community that way as well. It's just not showing up under the communities tab on the creative section. There's no like graphic for 3D modelling like there is for ArtStation or game development or all the rest of them. But you can certainly just type 3D modelling after the creative name in the URL, and you'll find all the 3D modelling guys that are still streaming under the hashtag 3D modelling there. You just can't find them directly from the community's page on the creative Twitch page. And that's a bit of a problem because you don't get as much exposure that way. Again though, I don't think Twitch is doing it on purpose. I don't think it's because Twitch doesn't want 3D modelers on Twitch. I think it's just because it's a beta feature, and you can't make a community that starts with a number. And that's, I think, causing the problem. I'm sure Twitch will work it out eventually. Like I said though, I'm streaming under games development because I'm going to be working in the Unreal Engine. Prior to that I was streaming under ArtStation when they removed the 3D modelling community. So hopefully by the time I finish this project, they will have fixed up their beta feature of communities and a 3D modelling community will be created. Or I will have heard back from Twitch support by then. We'll see how we go. There's a lot of people not happy about it, I can tell you. And Twitch are aware of it, they've been told. People have told them that they want their 3D modelling community back. It's going to go into my side viewport here and rotate that main piece at the front. Legmog says, yes, he streams under 3D modelling. He started streaming last week for the first time in months, but realised he gets noticeably less people turning up. Yeah. He said he streamed for 3 hours under 3D modelling and only got like one person briefly show up. Yeah, that's the problem. If there's not an official community for 3D modelling, and the only way people can find all those guys that are streaming under the hashtag 3D modelling is by typing it into the URL, that's going to cut out a lot of your viewers. He says, I mean, I'm tiny as hell here on Twitch, but even so, I normally average about 10 people showing up incrementally out in an hour or so, roughly. Yeah, no, again, you're not the only one. A lot of 3D modelling guys have complained about that they know that people can't find them, so their viewership has been cut in half. And that's because there is no 3D modelling community for people to actually click on to go to them. They got to stream under another community. Like I said, you see me streaming at the moment under games development because I'm going to be working in the Unreal Engine. So my advice to you is, I don't know what sort of 3D modelling you're doing at the moment, but look for a community that closely matches sort of what you're doing, if you can find one. Like I said, I was streaming under ArtStation up before this project when I was creating the Garden Terrace. So maybe stream under one of those communities until Twitch have a 3D modelling community set up and ready to go. Like I said, hopefully it'll be soon. It is a beta feature, so, you know, they shouldn't have really introduced it before they'd actually set it up, but hey, they didn't do it on purpose. I'm pretty sure they didn't do it on purpose, that's my point. Just a hiccup in the beta feature that I'm sure that they'll fix eventually. But I know, I can relate, I understand. It does really impact 3D modelling guys because people can't find your stream, you lose half your viewers. So if you are streaming Legmog as a 3D artist, make sure you go into your dashboard and select a community to stream under. At least that way you'll have more viewers find you. He says ultimately he's modelling assets for an animation, so maybe claim squatters' rights in the animation community, or if you're doing animation work, stream under the animation community for sure. Do what I do though, and I still keep my hashtags. I know a lot of people will tell you hashtags are not working anymore, they are still working. So even though you might go to Reddit and see people say your hashtags don't work in creative anymore, they do. They still work. So keep your hashtags, go into your dashboard, and make sure you select a community as well to stream under. And that way people can still find you by your hashtag 3D modeling, but they'll also find you by clicking on the animation community in your case. So do both, because hashtags are still working. Regardless of what people are telling you, they are. But just do make sure you choose a community in your dashboard to stream under until Twitch set up a 3D modeling community, an official one. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that's the reason that that there isn't one at the moment. It's just because you can't create a community that starts with a number. But I'm sure Twitch will fix it eventually. So yeah, my condolences. I understand what you're saying, and do that. Make sure you choose a community in your dashboard and keep your hashtags. He says, it's been so long, I thought the only way was to do hashtags. No, not the only way. Yeah, if you go into your dashboard and your Twitch, your Twitch, your main Twitch page, you've got your dashboard on the side. One of the selections is dashboard. Go into there, and just above where it says creative, when normally it says what game you're streaming, you choose creative to stream under the creative section. Just above that, you'll see community, and you can type the community name in there. So make sure you do that. But don't remove your hashtags. Keep your hashtags as well, because they are still working. And that way you can have the best of both. You can have a community you stream under, and you can still keep your hashtags as well. That's nothing official Twitch has said. That's just what I've noticed, that hashtags do still seem to be working. I may just angle this front piece a little more. I'm going to turn off angle snap though. I'm going to jump into my side viewport. Okay, I'll turn angle snap back on. Alright. So we can call this like our low poly version of that light fitting, which is a little bit more detailed than the original, because the original version here was just a flat plane when I created it years ago. I just wanted to update it a little more to give it a bit more geometry, which will give a bit more interest when we take it into the Unreal Engine and we actually have some lights on it. It'll pick up those edges as opposed to having no edges, because it's just a plane. But what we'll do is we'll keep the original texture here, the glass texture, when we bring it into Unreal, because that'll make a really nice emissive map. This glass here, the glowing glass part. Now, what I think I'll do here is I'm going to look at the texture for that light fitting. So I'm going to jump into my material editor here. Come on, mate. This is the light fitting here. You can see the texture is just an image of the light. Now I want to transfer that texture to these pieces, so I'm going to assign the texture to that piece of geometry. I'm going to throw down a unwrap UVW. Open my editor here, UVW editor. I'm going to make sure I pull in or select my light fitting texture. I'm going to select it all and move it up. I'm going to scale it back a bit as well. Now we are going to take this texture into Mari and paint over the edges of it, because the edges, as you can see here, are stretching, and they're going to stretch in this viewport as well. We could do it by hand, but it's going to be easier, I think, for me to take the actual object into Mari and paint up any areas. But at the moment, let's just make sure we line this up correctly. I'm going to non-uniform scale this here in the Y direction. Deselecting it to have a look at the original texture here now in the viewport. I'm going to go into point mode. I'm going to start lining these up by hand a little bit more. Actually, let me try doing a flip on this first, just in case it's coming in backwards. I don't think it was. Let me flip that back. Yeah, no. We'll just line it up by hand, I think. It probably will be easier. So again, I'm going to go into point mode here. I'm just going to find any areas where it's not lining up. Again, though, we're going to be jumping into Mari to retexture this piece anyway. But this is just for the underlying texture. Just so we can get a good base down before we paint over it in Mari. Like I said, guys, you saw me working before in Substance Painter to do those air intakes on the building, and Substance Painter you could use for this as well. But like I said, I don't like the fact that a lot of the stuff you create in Substance Painter starts to look the same. So I prefer to use Mari so I can do some hand-painted textures. They just look more unique. And you remember when we made these splines to cut these pieces out, I said to you guys, try and use as few points as possible, and that's because of this, when you have to actually make alterations. If you have too many points, it's going to be a nightmare to try and move them. And again, we don't have to be perfect here because we can make any small adjustments, paint any small adjustments out in Mari. I wonder if it might be easier for me to do this. I'm going to scale it up in the X direction a little bit. Move it down. I want to try and get it as close as I possibly can so there's fewer verts I have to move around with the UV shell. Make sure to turn off whole object mode, otherwise you'll be selecting everything all the time. This side is really out. Let's see if we can select all of this inner piece here. You're going to find it easier to line it up to this part and then you can just move fewer verts here to get it to line up on the other side. We do the same with this one over here. Again, we're going to line it up to this side, not paying attention to this side because this will be easier to line up than that. And then we can just adjust these fewer ones on this side to make sure it lines up correctly. Now let's do the same thing with this middle piece here. I think we've got them all. We'll know in a minute. Yep. Again, line it up to the curved edges. Ignore that piece there for the moment. Alchemist says instead of pick all dots, can't you switch to line mode? You're probably right. You could switch to line mode. Yes. Good point. You know, I know what you mean. It's this mode here, edge mode they call it. So at the moment we're working in vertex mode. Alchemist is saying we can work in edge mode. Let's see. He's probably right. It is easier to select edges than it is to select points, but you see I'm still going to have to go through and click each edge. So I'm still going to have to be doing this sort of business. And doing that, then I'm going to start getting these edges that attach to the opposite side. So you're right, selecting edges, you can select edges, but then you're going to start having this problem where you're selecting edges that attach to the opposite side of the geometry. So for what we're trying to do here, going into edge mode is not going to really work for us. Certainly we could select edges and then deselect parts of the edge, but that's no faster than selecting vertices here. So you're right. If selecting an edge just meant you got the edge and you didn't get the rest of the connections to the opposite side, that would be true. It would be quicker to jump into edge mode, but then we have this problem. And you won't get that problem by just going into vertex mode. It doesn't do the connection to the opposite side. Edge and loop. Yeah, that may work, but again, selecting the edge is going to automatically select the connecting outer edge. So you're still going to have to go through, yeah, it still goes to the other side. So you certainly could select an edge and do a loop, that's right. But doing that, it's still going to automatically select the connections between the inner edge and the outer edge. Whereas doing it by vertex here, it doesn't do that. Yeah, you're right. In some instances, doing it by edge mode here will work. Just not what we want to do here with these little pieces. So I'm not saying don't do edge mode, because it will work in some instances, just not for these pieces of geometry. Selecting verts here is easier because it doesn't automatically select the corresponding vert on the other side. Let's work our way down gradually, and selecting by vert is not a problem so long as you're just careful when you do your selection. You can select quite a large area. It doesn't take too long. I don't think I'd save too much time even in edge mode anyway, really. You do have to make sure you do get all the verts though, you don't leave any behind, otherwise you're going to start ruining your UVs. Again though, we always make sure we start by lining up these curved sections because they're going to be easier, they're going to be harder to manipulate than a straight edge like that. So you line it up to the curves and then manipulate the straight. You can see it's working okay. And like I said, we're going to be taking this piece of geometry into Mari to overpaint it anyway. Either Mari or Painter, I'll decide which one soon. Once I get this all lined up correctly. This is the most fiddly part of the geometry as well. That front piece is more detailed than the two side pieces, so there are more verts to move around on the front piece than the other two pieces. Alright, let's grab these inner pieces here now on the either side of the model. On either side of that front piece, I should say. I don't think there are any on this straight edge, so that should be alright. Again, I'm lining it up to the curved, I'm ignoring that line for the moment. You see I missed one down there? Easy enough, we'll just jump in and fix that up. Now I'm going to, now you can also scale while you're in this mode. You can use the scale command and scale it up, but it's generally going to be more fiddly trying to do it with the scale command. You're not going to have as much control. But you could use the scale command here as well. This one's going to be a little bit more fiddly because there's a lot of verts here and I have to move that over a little bit, so... Gonna have to get in quite close, I think, to move these up. Alright, let's grab the other side now. Don't want that one. Now I didn't do a flattened mapping on this before I brought it in, and that could have fixed that problem as well without me having to do all this fiddly adjustment. Possibly. If I'd done a flattened mapping prior to doing this, it may have been a better match. We'll look at that when we do the side pieces, before we start fiddling around like this again. Let me see if I have all of my pieces selected. I'll know pretty quickly if I don't. Yep. There's just a bit on this outer edge here that needs to be fixed up. Maybe from here down. Right. I think that's cleaned up most of it. So that should be okay. Let's just exit out of our UV mapping mode here. Now again, this is our low poly version. I'm going to be creating a higher poly version and I'm going to be baking normal maps down. We'll be doing that once I finish setting up the UVs for this piece of job, for the two side pieces. But you can see what we're going for here, where let's just get rid of those pieces there. I want to select these and go out of vertex mode there. And our original light fitting here. I'll just jump into isolate again. So we have our original light fitting. And the original light fitting was very flat. There was no geometry, it was just basically a triangle. And that was okay for the UDK because, you know, I wanted to reduce polys as much as I could. So with the new version of the engine, I want a bit more detail. And by cutting those out, and by actually creating geometry for those decorative iron pieces like we have here, when we actually put a light source into the Unreal Engine, we're going to get a lot nicer play of shadow and highlight happening along there. And that'll work even better once we actually maybe create a normal map from a high-res piece of geometry. So we can use this as our low-res mesh. We can place a plane inside with that texture for the glass that we can use as an emissive material in the Unreal Engine. And like I said, having an actual light source in the Unreal Engine with the actual geometry here will create a nice play of light on the model itself. We could have kept it that way. Like if you were doing a game model for maybe a mobile game, mobile phone or tablet, you probably would want to keep it quite low poly anyway. So I'm not saying doing it this way is wrong. You could still do it that way, but because we're creating geometry for the Unreal Engine that's going to be played on a desktop, so you know we're working with graphics cards that are quite powerful now. We're going to give our assets a bit of a lift, and create a bit more geometry for them, because it will make a nicer looking model in the Unreal Engine. I think we may leave it there for today though, guys. I'll be back on again tomorrow. We'll continue on with working on our assets here for the Unreal Engine. I do want to thank you guys for watching and for tuning in. I do appreciate it when you guys watch me on Twitch, so thank you very much for hanging out with me and for watching. I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 PM Pacific time in the US, and we'll continue on with creating our assets here, updating our assets I should say, for the new Unreal Engine. Thanks Legmog, thank you for popping into chat and saying hello. It's always great when you guys pop in and say hi. Again, like I said, thank you very much guys for watching. I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 PM. If you're not sure when I'm live, either follow my Twitch page, my Twitch channel, that'll tell you, or you can check out my Twitter page at PhilDoes3D, because I always post 15 minutes before I go live to my Twitter page, but my schedule does not change. I stream every Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 PM Pacific time in the US. So again, thank you very much guys for hanging out with me and for watching. Thank you guys that followed my Twitch channel. I really do appreciate that. I will be back on again tomorrow, and hopefully I'll see you guys then. Take care guys.